Welcome to the Loveland Report and Lone Ranger Show. I am Cleve Loveland, Central Florida's best real estate planner, alongside Bruce Woodburn, the Lone Ranger. We're going to give you all your real estate news, your interest rate news, anything going on in the mortgage and real estate business in Central Florida and around the country. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to talk a big story, I think, Bruce. Top three things I've got is rates coming down. This is the boost we needed. And then I've got NAR, the commission rules have changed for MLS. Talk about how that's going to affect you. And then also marketing, how to market the house properly. And we'll go dive into that. What do you got for today?
Well, I think interest rates are the biggest topic right now. I think that's what everybody wants to know. What's going on? Is the Fed going to do another Fed cut? What will the Fed cut do to impact interest rates moving in the future? And what are people doing right now? People are really jumping into the market. Our phone calls and new applications literally have exploded in the last 2 weeks. So
that's great.
There's a lot of new business coming in that will create other challenges for some people. And I want to go over those challenges so that you understand how to navigate it. What Cleve and I want to do is make sure that our listeners out there that want to either buy, sell, or refinance have all the tools so they know what the market's doing and how to react to it, because that means everything. And I think a lot of people are going to end up with a bit of a surprise if they're not really.
Well, I mean, so
we're going to cover a lot.
The funny thing is that everybody's worried about is the Fed cutting rates. That'll ripple through the economy, but it doesn't always affect 30-year mortgage rates. The bond market had a good week because of Wall Street sucked.
All right. So if we're going to get into that right now.
Let's go right now.
We can do
let's
that.
Talk about it. That's
we
the biggest
can do
story.
that. So I was going to hold off till a little bit later, but we can knock it out right now if you want. So we know the Fed did not cut the Fed rate in July, right? They didn't.
They haven't cut it in forever.
They haven't cut it, right? So, and there was no indication that they were going to cut it at that time in September. So they said that we don't know if there'll be another Fed cut. However, why did interest rates drop? Why have they dropped significantly? We've seen about a 0.75 percentage point from 3 weeks ago to what we're getting right now. So we've seen a really great improvement in interest rates, which is pretty substantial. So why did interest rates drop if the Fed elected not to cut rates? Well, they dropped because the bond market has improved. The bond yield has improved. Now, for our listeners out there, I don't like to get too esoteric, but we have smart listeners. So if the Fed cuts the Fed rate, why do you think, Cleve, that the Fed would cut a Fed rate? What does that do?
Well, they want to speed the economy back up again.
They want to stimulate the economy. Okay. So when you stimulate the economy, what do you think happens to the stock market?
Gets going.
What happens to it?
Goes higher.
It goes higher. People buy more stocks. The stocks improve. So if the stocks are improving, what do you think happens to the bond market?
Slows down, goes down.
It slows down because money, institutional money, big money, bigger than you and I buying stocks in our 401k, institutional money moves money back from equities, stocks, to bonds. Bonds are their safe haven. So when there's uncertainty, they move into bonds. When there's profits to be made, they move into equities. So they switch back and forth. Well, if this Fed lowers the Fed rate, it's going to stimulate the economy, which is going to improve your stock market, which is going to pull away from the bond market, and bonds could deteriorate and our rates could actually get worse instead of better. Now, I say that, and a lot of people think, well, that's kind of nuts. That is the truth, and we'll see that. However, over the long haul, by having multiple Fed rate cuts, you will see an improvement in interest rates. We in our industry believe that the interest rates will slowly get a little bit better over time if we just leave well enough alone.
And now, so in bottom line, 2-3 months ago, we were in the low sevens. Where are we at now?
Well, we were in the low sevens. We were up last year. We're in the mid eights to low eights. So right now you're seeing interest rates that are running anywhere from 6 to 6.5%.
That's a great improvement.
It's a great improvement. Now, I will say this because I've locked in multiple loans this week in the fives. Like one of them at 5.625 for a veteran.
Wow.
Now, the seller paid some points to get the rate down, but those rates can be available with good credit. You take somebody with good credit. I locked an FHA loan in this week in the fives. So the the rates have improved dramatically. I still like to get seller paid closing costs so we can get those rates down, because your average rate is still about 6.6 right now. You see on the news that it's 6.25. It's not 6.25.
But this is why people need to call you if you're thinking about it, and like call me for your real estate plan. Even you're 3, 6, 9 months out
for your mortgage planning.
And get that done, because let's say, like I just talked to a friend of mine, his daughter landed first big job. Fiance has a great job. They're planning on buying in about 6 months. Well, I'm thinking, no, you need to buy now because the prices are going up faster. That's a whole nother story. But they should get their application into you so you can check credit, see what else they need to improve their score, so you can get them that best rate. Because it's different with every person.
The problem that I see with most people that are trying to fix their own credit is they're trying to fix their own credit.
I don't think I've never met anybody fix their own credit.
You do more damage than you do good. You do not know which card to pay off, which card to pay down, which card to close, which card to leave open. Mm-hmm. And I do. And I only do because I run it through analyzers. But I had a client the other day that we looked at their debt. We were going to try to raise their score. We needed it to be improved to be able to qualify. And when I looked at some loans, some of their credit cards were actually over the limit. They were over the limit. But when we showed the analyzer, let's pay it down, it made no impact on their credit score. Uh-huh. And then another debt that was under the limit, but we only had to pay it down $400 or $500, and then we got like 20 points. And then another collection we had to have removed.
So they need to call you and start their fast track process.
You doing it on your own will do more damage. And most of the time, we fix it right here in-house. We don't even charge you for it. Seldom do we refer you to credit repair. Matter of fact, if you're thinking of credit repair or you're in it, don't do it. Yep. Don't do it. You're going to pay too much money. You're going to get no results. All they do is dispute everything on your credit report, and all it does is cause more and more damage.
How do they reach you, Bruce?
Do it. 407-250-9144. That's 407-250-9144, or WeBringYouHome.com.
All right, Bruce, I got some news here about the NAR commission. All those rules are in effect now. So there's no more compensation listed in the MLS for
the
buyer's agents. Doesn't mean there's not any. And here's what I'm telling you. Continue to do business on what has worked for the last 110 years. You're going to list your home, pay that buyer's agent to bring you a buyer. If you don't, you won't have a buyer. You're confusing the matter. And that agent has to now figure out, okay, they had money for closing costs, but now they got to pay me. And so it's a lot of rules out there. And if you ask some people and they don't know exactly what's going on, call me at 407-352-8118. We'll go over all the differences and what's going on right now and watch what's happening, Bruce. Because I've had some properties over the years, even before all this stuff went in, where all I did was change the compensation to the agent, make it a little higher, and we sold. We did hardly anything to the home.
Absolutely.
I've even increased the price a little bit. But those agents got and this is what works. You talk about marketing. What works is, where are the buyers? The buyers are in the back seat of the realtor's car. The realtor would not drive them around for 2 to 4 months looking and educating them as to what costs $550 and what costs $500. And, oh, you missed one. Let's go. Let's look at this one. And for $525, this is the house for you guys. And they do not show properties to a buyer that's not qualified.
No.
And so you want those buyers coming through your home. You want to make it as simple as possible.
So now that NAR says that the listing agent cannot publish the commission to be paid to the buyer's agent in MLS, can you post that on your website?
I can talk about it right here. So I've got a listing right here in Kissimmee for $320,000. Pond front, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, nice little 1,200 square.
How much you paying the buyer's agent?
I'm paying the buyer's agent 3% on that one.
That's a full commission on that.
Full commission on that. And I don't dink with their money. No. They have enough times figuring out.
We want them to bring their buyers.
The buyers got points. The buyers got the down payment. That's the hardest thing, especially in this price range for $320,000. That's the hardest thing for the buyer to come up with.
Right.
Is the down payment.
Absolutely.
And if they got to come up with another $10,000 to pay the realtor, or another $8,000, whatever it is, it makes it, now they need to they definitely have to ask for closing costs.
When you get in this market right now, I would bet you that at least 75% of my buyers not only are doing a low down payment loan, but they need closing costs paid by the seller. So if they have to sign an agreement, so let's just walk you guys through it. Let's say I'm a buyer and I come to you and I say, I need to get, I want to buy a house. You're going to get them over to Bruce. He's going to pre-approve them. You got a pre-approval letter, right?
Work on fast track.
And then you say, you have to sign this buyer broker's agreement that you're going to pay me a fee.
X amount of percent could be, depends on the price point. All that's still negotiable. And this is kind of
I
why
understand
that's
that.
kind of why the government
kind of get let's
just say
it's $8,000. Okay.
Yep.
It's $8,000. But then I look at you and I say, Cleve, but wait a minute. I've got my $15,000 for my down payment, but I don't even have enough to cover my closing costs and escrows on this. How am I going to pay you another $8,000?
And here's the other thing too, Bruce. I want to ask you that. So like I said, you're complicating the deal.
Right.
You're adding another speed, not a mountain, it's a molehill, it's a speed bump. But most agents, what I deal with, Bruce, is most agents are not trained as the anatomy of a deal. How much are closing costs?
So what do we do then? So I say, Cleve, but wait a minute, I got to sign an agreement. I got to pay you $8,000, and Bruce is telling me I need $8,000 for closing costs too. How do we do that?
Well, can they ask for 6% in closing costs or 5%?
On an FHA loan, you can,
but not on a conventional.
On a conventional,
so we
you
just
can if you're putting 10%
we just complicated
down.
The deal. We just made it like, and you know what's going to happen? The 4 other homes in the neighborhood that are paying a co-broke,
right?
They're going to get shown, and that one's probably not.
Right.
But I want to say, like, it's just don't complicate it. This is part of marketing.
But let's just walk them through this. So then I already know the answer to my question. All right. So, but I want them to understand. So then I don't have the $8,000 to pay you. I don't have the $8,000 that Bruce says I need for closing costs. So when you go to look for properties for them, you're going to contact the listing agent to make sure that they're not only willing to pay the commission to your buyer, right?
Yep.
So that's how you've solved that problem.
Yep.
So now you don't have to worry about the commission because we're only making offers where Cleve is going to negotiate that the commission's paid, right? Now, then I need closing costs paid too. So you're looking for transactions.
Not as big a problem because let's say
it's not a problem
because let's say it's listed for 400 or this is a starter buyer 350. I can write them an offer for 360 and ask for 10 in closing costs.
Right.
So that's kind of, we can cover that. I just thought of this though, Bruce, what's going to happen when these homes start closing? And I don't even know this yet, because this is what the attorneys did to us and NAR did. Let's say that house had 0 commission and it sold for 500.
Right.
And the one down the street, the exact same home, sold for 515 because it did have a commission.
Right.
How's the appraiser going to know that?
That's a comparable.
They're probably going to, but
that's going to affect
exact same home. So they're going to have to add a column to an appraisal report about commissions.
Who knows?
So they're going to be calling me, and they do call me. I always answer the phone when appraisers call me, and because they're calling me asking about comps and they want to know the anatomy deal. I always give them as much information as I can because I want them to support the value of whatever they're working on. All right.
Okay. So here's the answer to this. We have this figured out. We will negotiate it out for you. We will make sure that we always have your back, whether you're a buyer or a seller. We're going to represent you. We are fiduciaries. We will do everything in our power to make sure that we navigate a transaction for you in your best interest. That's my guarantee from my end. Is that your guarantee?
That is. And realtors, I just want to say, you want your loan to close, call Bruce. Stop messing around with other lenders, other banks, the out-of-town internet lender, whatever it might be. You want your loan done, call Bruce. We're going to go out the number in a second. And then when you do, he will get the deal done.
Well, I'll get it done, and I'll let you know what your challenges are, and we're going to get you to the closing table, plain and simple. What's your number,
So
Cleve?
for calling me, 407-352-8118 or cleveloveland.com. Realtors, that's where my co-broke percentage is listed. But let me guarantee you, if it's a Loveland listing, we will be paying a co-broke. And
that's a great promise.
I don't have time to put a house on the market and make it more complicated to sell.
Well, then you want buyers. Yep. There's no point in putting a sign in the yard. If you would like to start off by knowing that you qualify, what your options are, you want a great rate, you want great closing costs, you want the best possible mortgage that you could possibly ask for, call me. I'm the loan arranger, Bruce Woodburn, 407-250-9144. That's 407-250-9144, or we bring you home loanarangers.com. When we get back from the next break, I do want to cover some additional things here. I want to cover some important issues. I want to dive deeper into the future of mortgage rates, and I want to talk about investors, self-employed, and what's left for down payment assistance for hometown heroes. Cleve and I will be back in 5 minutes with more of the Loveland Report and the Loan Arranger Show. Don't go anywhere. We got some things that you definitely want to stay tuned.
Be right back.